Yes, welcome to Game Day. Thank you so much for being with us, Habs Nation. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to the morning of the night that will become the Montreal Canadiens getting back into this series with the Washington Capitals. How dramatic of a change of scenery will this play into the Montreal Canadiens' checks and balances? Look across. There he is, Marco D'Amico, with us on this game day. Welcome to Game 3. Montreal down 2-love. Marco, what's good, brother?
Not much, man. Looking forward to seeing what the lineup finally becomes as Martin St. Louis begins to play lineup games with both his opponents and the media.
Yeah, so let's get into that. The Montreal Canadiens have their skate 10:30 this morning. It's been reported that Patrick Laine was the only guy not there, and then minutes went by, and then it was reported that the Montreal Canadiens announced that Laine is missing the skate due to maintenance. And Marco D'Amico also putting it out there on social media before our live episode this morning that no reports of Florian Jacki with the Montreal Canadiens. So if you're part of Habs Nation, hoping for the brothers Jacki to make their playoff debuts, Florian his NHL debut, you're going to have to wait a minute because it's not happening tonight, Marco.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I'm at a point where how many fans asking for Florian watched him play this year? Because I just don't like what he did in the AHL was fantastic, and he was brought along, to a level that he was able to get more and more of an impact at the AHL level, and really kind of found his role as kind of a what's the word here, as a defensive specialist with physical qualities. I really like that.
Yep.
But if you bring him up and you play him before he's ready, you're going to burn him. And the Laval Rocket absolutely want Florian Jacki at his best for what they perceive to be a very long playoff run. So you'd be sending him back basically, deflated to a degree. And if he gets outplayed or if he doesn't get very many minutes, which he likely won't, if the idea is just to bring in goons, then I suggest fans can, go and watch NHL Center Ice Classics of the 1990s series, because that's not what's going to happen here. The Canadiens are not going to do that. They're going to play players that can impact the game with toughness, which is why Arbor would be drawing in this case. But you're not going to throw in a 21-year-old kid who only has one pro season under his belt into the NHL playoffs against the best team in the East. It's just not. It's nonsensical in my estimation. It's a fantasy, because it would be nice to see the brothers at the same time. My only problem with the situation is you wouldn't be putting Florian in a situation to succeed, and the Canadiens have other players that are better at this moment. Not saying that Florian couldn't potentially continue this ridiculous development curve he's on, but there are better players right now that could help this team. And in my honest opinion, I think, like we talked about yesterday, even going 11-7 would be a better situation than bringing up a 21-year-old unproven Florian Jacki and putting him in a position where he's not likely to succeed right off the bat.
So let's talk about apologies in advance, as the live stream is now getting close to 4 minutes here since we started it up. More and more people continue to join us, so more and more people I see in the chat. What's going on? I'm seeing reports Laine was not at the skate today. Right off the hop. It's a scheduled maintenance day, or scheduled is probably not the right choice of words there, but it's a maintenance day, which is not a common thing in the NHL playoffs. But in this instance, it is for Patrick Laine. I mean, Marco, how comfortable are you speculating on what this might mean for 7 o'clock tonight? Does Oliver Kapanen slot in? Does Patrick Laine play? Are we going to see an 11-7 formation, which I'm kind of in favor of? What's your early read? I'm going to ask you to speculate here on what the Laine maintenance day means to you.
So the Canadiens have not ruled. They've specifically said that Laine is not ruled out for tonight's game. He's on maintenance day. So for anybody who is questioning the situation, I think it's very obvious that Patrick Laine is injured and playing through something. So, for those with the harsh words in his regard, maybe scale back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But when it comes to whether or not you should be playing an injured Patrick Laine, well, that's on Martin St. Louis, in my honest opinion. I feel like If you know that that guy is injured, then I don't understand unless it was the Jim Dowd knee on knee in game 2. I don't understand why he was played at that any further at that point. And to be completely honest with you, if he is injured, with all due respect to Patrick Laine, that injury, that knee injury, will impact his one-timer, which we saw, right? That knee on knee, exactly. Last game was the well, no, see, that's the thing. Laine did not play all season on one leg. Although I will say that he shouldn't. The Canadiens doctors wanted to shut him down for the season when he was injured initially. And then a second opinion said, no, you could rehab it. You'll be back. You won't be back at 100%, but you'll be back. So I wouldn't say playing on one leg. I'd say playing on a leg and a half. But at the end of the day, that didn't stop him from scoring 20 goals. Which is insane.
Prorated 40-goal season. Let's go, man.
But I think people need to, when it comes to Patrick Laine, people need to remember two very specific things. The man did not touch the ice the entire summer because of a shoulder injury and being in the assistance program, and then missed all of training camp. So this guy physically is not there. The stamina is not there right now, and there's an injury to the knee. I'm not saying that some of the brain farts, the weak passes, the reaching for pucks, the very predictable cross-ice passes that are getting picked off, those are, mental mistakes that he should not be making, especially with the knowledge of his physical setbacks.
Yeah,
that I hold him accountable for. But the physical aspects of it, I see it. I watched it live. It's, I understand, the lack of physical ability. However, if you know that, and you know that he can't score in the situation that he's in right now, it is the Montreal Canadiens coaching staff's responsibility to make the right call and maybe sacrifice the potential of Patrick Laine scoring for a player that's going to be able to do more on the ice. And you give the scoring opportunity to, I don't know, maybe a guy like Ivan Demidov, maybe some kids like Emil Heineman or Oliver Kapanen, who may draw in tonight.
Well,
but
as we spoke
the
about
idea right now,
brother, like, you brought this up yesterday on the show. The Demidov's numbers were exponentially better in 4 minutes of ice time without Patrick Laine. Jake Evans' numbers were better with Ivan Demidov in that 4-minute sample size from Wednesday's game 2
absolutely
loss.
And I think it really hurts the Canadiens when you look at a situation like that and you think, hey, what are we doing here? What's going on? How are we going to be able to allow this kid to grow in Ivan Demidov? Well, it's not by putting him with a player who's very injured. So when I watch a player like Laine, I see a lot of people questioning his will, his determination, saying, putting speculation out that he should just retire because he's not in it anymore. That's just a whole lot of smoke. That's a whole lot of emotion. I think, some people need to externalize it into other avenues. But when it comes to the way that he's being utilized, that's my critique. I think MSL, the excuse of the last change on the road is over. He has the last change at home and all the momentum with that Bell Center crowd. You have to ensure that you have at least three lines that could take it to the Washington Capitals.
Just a reminder for newbies joining the live show today, that's Marco D'Amico. I'm Shaun Starr. The Canadiens are saying Patrick Laine is taking a maintenance day, and it does not rule him out for tonight's game. Now, I'm going to weigh in on something, Marco, and I'm curious to get, your reaction and your read on it as well. I want to talk about one
Apologies, by the way, for looking at my phone. I'm getting information on the fly, just in case fans are worried that I'm not staring at my camera.
Listen, if you haven't heard me bitch to you about it, that tells you where I'm at.
I'm coming. I'm coming back, guys.
Now, let me weigh in on this narrative here for a second about what Martin St. Louis needs to do. I've seen Aaron Ward comment on this. This is a guy who's won multiple Stanley Cups. This is a man who's played in the National Hockey League. I am not one to challenge Aaron Ward when he suggests that maybe Martin St. Louis needs to play the media game here and maybe to the point of incurring a fine from the National Hockey League. I got two things to say on that front, Marco, and feel free to inject your own opinion, your own point of view on what you make of it. But if Martin St. Louis has the pulse of this team and the pulse of this room, and if he goes into that room on Wednesday after they lose to Washington, and Cole Caulfield's still complaining about the cross check that drew blood that didn't get called, Brendan Gallagher, a leader on this team, is still complaining about the referees and how janky of a job these guys are doing. If Martin St. Louis takes his cues from that room, I'm all for Martin St. Louis coming out. He has the resume and the credentials to read the riot act, to defend his team, and knowing that the series is back home. But I
I
want the
don't think
players to
so.
take. I don't want the players to take their cues, and they would take their cues. And Martin St. Louis, to me, doesn't come across as a guy who's hot-headed, John Tortorella style, who's going to come out and say something like that. So, what do you make of the referee's performance in 2 games, and does St. Louis need to come out after the skate this morning and kind of read them the riot act and lay the groundwork? Message sent, you're in Montreal, we expect a tighter game, it's our turn to get the calls.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's been watching the playoffs, not just the Montreal Capitals series, it's very inconsistent across the board, as it always is in the first round. No one knows what a call is anymore. By the time you get to the second round, everyone's just kind of like, exactly. It just feels very Mickey Mouse in the sense that there's no real like consistency in that regard. So for Martin St. Louis to come out and say it, I mean, sure, but the last time he came out and really reeled into an official and was like, no comment. I'm basically the red, Marshawn Lynch, but NHL, like, I'm only here not to get fined at this point.
Exactly.
When he did that, it's not for nothing. Who was the ref in last night's game? It was the same refs that he called out against the Rangers.
Yes.
So you run your mouth publicly often enough about the refs, it's during these times that they come back and get you. So my honest opinion, you said that he has the resume and the credentials. He has no resume. He's been a coach in hockey, in professional hockey, for 3 years. And this is not the time to be like, John Cooper was the same way, in the sense that, and Martin St. Louis would know, he was there, but John Cooper was the same way, where he wasn't as vocal back when he started as he is now.
Yeah, totally. And I like this, that I've seen this floated around a while for a minute here. What's up, Rod? Always can count on you to be here and inject some good commentary in the live show. Irrelevant stat alert. You're very correct in your choice of wording. Caps have only won 40% of the series in which they've led 2-0. And I like this stat because I don't know what the hell Peter Bondra's Washington Capitals have to do with Alex Ovechkin's 2025 version of the Washington Capitals. And if we're spitting out trends, and I like, again, fun but irrelevant stat alert, for what it's worth, the Montreal Canadiens are 5-19 when down 0-2 in a best-of-7 series. Marco is all about that air squat life today. Now, let's get into home ice advantage for a second. Marco has been beating this drum about last change since the series opened up on Monday. And, of course, the Canadiens were 23-12-6 at home during the regular season. However, this is Stanley Cup playoff game number 1 since a 3-2 win against the Lightning in 2021 during the COVID year. Since then, the Montreal Canadiens have not played a playoff game in front of a full Bell Center since an overtime loss to the Rangers in Game 5 of the 2017 Eastern Conference first round. So as Habs legend fan 33 writes here, let's get the Thompson chants going tonight. Austin is balding. Dun, 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 dun.
Hey,
Great job.
Whoa.
Yeah, you're bald, not balding. Let's talk about Habs legend 33's idea here. Get the fans involved, Arbor to slot in, Line A out, and I'm not calling him demigod. Ivan Demidov on power play number 1. So how important is, let me tackle the first one. How important is home ice and the fans and the vibe in the building tonight?
I have
Is it the fourth forward on the ice or what?
Yeah, exactly. I've been to the Bell Center in the playoffs. First round, second round, third rounds. I've seen it. And it is just, it can carry a team, that kind of a crowd. It can get a team that's, desperate for a second wind. It could energize them right off the bat. Yeah. I had a colleague actually that was at the Washington Capitals game against the Habs 2 days ago, in Washington, and he's just like, "Oh my God, this is so loud, this is so crazy." And he sent me a video, and I was, respectfully, I told him that sounds like a preseason game in Montreal. No offense. And the idea is, I for tips, I guess. I don't know. I'm not going to whore out my
Oh
head, but
my! Oh no! What are you willing to do for $10?
it's so wild. No, I'm just
No
kidding,
judging.
guys.
It's Friday.
No,
It's Friday. No judging.
no judging. I preferably no,
Yeah.
but you know what it is. When it comes to looking at the Bell Center as an advantage, there's a reason why the NHL in general, like I'm interviewing, for example, prospects for the 2025 draft that have been, ranting and raving about the impact that the Bell Center crowd can have on games, be it at the Four Nations, be it growing up watching hockey. And it's a very real advantage. And you can ask the Washington Capitals. I specifically remember Nicholas Backstrom during the 2010 playoff run for the Canadiens, where he said, like, it's an intimidating barn to walk into, especially if they're behind that team and they are loud. Like, it's almost distracting how loud it is. And so I think there's a net advantage there. On the other side of the coin, I think what it also does is that, for example, referees, the refs are gonna it won't make sense. So, for example, in Washington, they were booing basically any player that fell. Right? It was kind of childish at one point. But if there is an egregious call missed by the referees, like, get these guys like security guards from this crowd. Like, it's going to be nasty in terms of the way that they are going to impact the game phonetically. And I just from an auditive perspective, it just feels like they have that ability to change a game. Now, the one thing I will say, people say Arbor in, Patrick Laine out. All of these things are hypotheticals right now. We are hearing that there's a good chance that Arbor plays tonight. There's a good chance. He was on the ice full practice. But we have no confirmation from the club yet, and they won't give any. Martin St. Louis is going to keep everybody guessing right until the very end.
Can I just stop you there and give you the latest from MSL?
Oh, perfect.
You're going to see more players than usual in warm-ups tonight. On top of Laine, St. Louis says there are a few players battling some things, game time decisions for the lineup. I mean, it almost sounds to me, listen, I'm not discounting what MSL is saying here. I'm not discounting it. Part of me thinks there's a little gamemanship going here, keeping Carberry's coaching staff off kilter, trying to decide, are we planning for Jack Eye? Are we planning for an 11-7 split? Taking out a Ford, splitting up ice time between David Savard and Arbor Jack Eye. Because here's the other thing, right? And as much as I don't ever want to think about, politics in La Belle Province playing a role in roster construction or in a lineup announcement, okay? I would think Martin St. Louis would have bowling ball-sized testicles between his legs if he scratches David Savard, who's retiring in a playoff game in front of a capacity crowd at the Bell Center in his home province. I just have how much of that to you? Like, I don't see that happening. I don't think that would be a good move personally. Is that too much? Is something that you can see playing a part?
They're playing games. They're playing games right now. Martin St. Louis is playing all kinds of games, trying to ensure, because he gets the last change and want to cast doubt in Spencer Carberry to get him to potentially change his lineup in consequence. He's not doing anything. There are players that are struggling with injury. We know Yoel Armia has been struggling with his wrist for a while. We know Jake Evans has been struggling as well with an injury since about, mid-March, early March. When you look at on defense, I mean, they are all carrying something at this point. Caden Gooley's not 100%, so I can see what's going on. But JC Lajoie of TVA Sport is reporting that Jaden Struble and Patrick Laine would be out tonight, and Oliver Kapanen and Arbor Jack-Eye would be coming in. However, Michael Pezzetta and Arbor Jack-Eye were the last players on the ice after practice, which usually would indicate that they're going to be you know, tossed aside and scratched. So my opinion, they're playing mind games. They are absolutely playing mind games. And it's the playoffs. It's great. For the members of the media, it absolutely sucks because we can't actually inform you on what is going to happen. But I agree with JJ on this one. From a pure meritocracy perspective, like if it was on merit, David Savard would be out. What is David Savard good at? So I need you to go and look at like the NHL stats page and go beyond assists and goals and points to the giveaway, to the takeaway line and the shot block line. And that's what Savard is elite at. And that's why they need him on the penalty kill, because he's just so damn effective in that kind of role. And when he's the defenseman that has to block, like who's going to block an Alexander Ovechkin shot? David Savard. Ain't nobody else going to throw himself out of the way. And David Savard knows. He's like, hey, I'm retiring in a couple of weeks. That's it. Mike Matheson is, oh my God.
Yikes.
I'm not going to keep saying this. Mike Matheson should be playing 20 minutes a game and would be perfectly fine.
Correct.
He had a fine game too, in my honest opinion, with the minutes that he was given. Fine. The Washington Capitals blue line looked far worse than Mike Matheson. Jacob Chikrin, who's going to be making twice Matheson's salary next season, was getting bodied and losing pucks left and right to a Montreal Canadiens line that wasn't even together for more than a period.
Yes.
So I need fans to gain perspective here. Mike Matheson shouldn't be in the role that he is in. And the only reason he's playing the minutes that he's playing is because the Canadiens are not built for the playoffs. They're not built to contend. And that's the best option they have right now in terms of shutting down the opposition on the left side.
I would play him with Caden Gooley. That would be my defensive. It would be Matheson and Gooley for me. I know you do. I know you don't see it that way, because I don't see it your way. I don't want Hudson and Matheson together, which is your tandem. It's not my tandem.
I wouldn't even do that now. But the problem is, they're going to be disbalanced if I do it my way. And so my way would have been Struble with Hudson, Gooley with Carrier, and then Matheson with Jackeye.
Well, here's the thing, right? But
then you lose Savard.
I'm in favor of the 11-7 split. I'm going to tell you why
that changes
for the 7, okay? Because I'll put Jackeye in the lineup today. I'm going to play him 6 to 8 minutes. Savard's going to get his 8 to 9 minutes, and there's my 17 to 18. I'm going to get 2 defensemen to do the job of 1 defenseman. And you know what? If we look at Patrick Laine the same way, does Laine get out there bruised and battered and he's just a power play specialist? I wouldn't mind to see that tonight in Game 3. And I would also like to see that on the defensive side with David Savard. Put him out there in shorthanded situations. Arbor Jackeye plays the other minutes that Savard otherwise would have played. Because here's the thing. Like if I go back to Game 2 on Wednesday night, right? And let's talk about the Connor McMichael, David Savard own goal. Right? Where David Savard loses his man, loses his footing, falls down to the ice, is slow to recover, and McMichael has 2 cracks with nobody around him because Struble's covering the middle of the ice to try to prevent the pass. So you have McMichael there who gets 2 cracks, bangs it off David Savard, and it's in. I would think in the law of probability, Arbor Jackeye probably gets back there and recovers that lost position and recovers that real estate quicker than David Savard did. Thus, probably eliminating that goal. And who knows what happens after that. But I'm not scratching David Savard. I think he's a better defenseman than Arbor Jackeye in his own end while shorthanded. And Arbor is obviously much younger, much faster, much quicker to react, and hits to hurt all the time. And in my brain, when I work it out that way, that's how I get to the 11-7 split, and it makes sense for me. Everybody can kind of play their role. You can manage those minutes, and the way MSL managed in-game tonight as he did Wednesday in Game 2. It makes sense in my mind. Would you be surprised if it's an 11-7 formation tonight?
Yes. My 2 cents. I think they're talking about injuries being the indicator or the dictator in this case of any changes to the lineup. That indicates to me that they want to do 12-6. I wouldn't mind 11-7, but Martin St. Louis is going on record saying that he doesn't like doing
Yeah.
11-7, despite his,
Not many do.
despite,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, JJ, I'm sorry, but go look across the league. It is what it is, man. When you look at your bottom pairs, it is really what every single team does. The first two pairs end up playing, a combined total of about 48 to 52 minutes, and then the bottom pair will play anywhere between 12 and 8 and 12 minutes. And it's basically like that across the league. It's, the Washington Capitals are the only ones to do that right now. And the reason is because Martin Ferravari is injured and out for the series, out for the playoffs, or else they would probably be loading up on their top two pairs as well. Right now, they're spreading the wealth on the bottom two pairs, but really their top pair is what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to Samuel Montembeault, I don't think anybody can have any. We talked about the goalies yesterday, but Logan Thompson and Samuel Montembeault are the only reasons that either team have kept it close, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, what was that?
No offense to the way that Connor Hellebuck has been playing so far these playoffs, but I just feel like if he were in that situation, or Stuart Skinner, for example, if Stuart Skinner were playing for Montreal and or Washington, it would be 2-0 for the team that he doesn't play for.
Yeah. When we talk about, the Canadiens in this series and trying to figure out a way to become more dangerous offensively, how do they do it? The logical answer is yes. You look at Cole Caulfield and 37 goals, say, I expect you to score some goals here, right? But the plain Jane fact is Montreal has scored 3 goals in 2 games. And I wonder about how important a guy like Josh Anderson is. And I don't know if you'll remember this, but when you and I kicked off the playoff live stream, I brought up a name like Rene Bourque to you. And when Rene Bourque found his moment in the sun against the Tampa Bay Lightning, he was instrumental. And
even that hat trick against the Rangers.
Right? He found his moment and capitalized on every second of it. How much do you believe in Josh Anderson to be that version this year on this team? Because that's what I see.
I don't. And not to be disrespectful, just, we've already seen Josh Anderson with absolute golden opportunities. There was obviously the Dvorak goal last game. I think what you're going to see of Josh Anderson is less so much the heroics and more so much the details. And I think that's just equally as important, but just not as flashy. And that's why I want to distinguish the two. I did call Christian Dvorak being the guy that could potentially,
yes.
And so he's been playing very good for the Montreal Canadiens. I found he's been very solid. What I will say, though, when it comes to Josh Anderson, is he provides an element of both speed and toughness that is just incredible to have on a team and very hard to find. The only problem is he makes $5.5 million a year.
Yeah.
But when you're in the playoffs, unfortunate that NHL GMs have only included now.
Yeah.
There is no salary cap. So it's really fun to have him on your team once you get to this point, if you're the Montreal Canadiens. And he's out there hitting, he's out there antagonizing, he's out there putting fear in the defense. It's like, go boy. Putting out fear in the defense of the opposition. Whenever that veteran line plays, and I hope everybody watches tonight and remembers this. Whenever that veteran line plays and they dump the puck in, look at the defensive pairings. And look at how many times what's going on, Shaun? I can't even concentrate. Look at how those defensemen look back. Look how many times they have to look back to see where Anderson is, because they just get caught off guard from how quick he comes down the boards and how good he is at stopping pucks as they get cleared out from the boards. He stops them, has the size to make space, and then tries to make a play. My only critique of Josh Anderson is finishing. And it is always going to be that. In tight, on a breakaway, you name it. But the easiest way for the Montreal Canadiens in general to score goals is to play like Josh Anderson. Bring the puck to the high danger areas and cause chaos. That's how they scored that one goal for the Canadiens last game, was they just caused chaos in front of the net. And that's where goalies panic. That's where goalies overcommit. And that's where you could take advantage. And we've seen a guy like Logan Thompson played fantastic. but man, does he overcommit, and they have to start taking advantage of that.
Seeing lots of reports here again, nothing confirmed.
Yeah,
Martin St. Louis.
GIC,
Go ahead.
GC
Sorry.
GC of TVA Sport, Jean-Charles Lajoie of TVA Sport is the one reporting that Jacky and Kapanen would be in Ferline and Struble. I will put one wrinkle on this. It's in the Canadiens' best interest to leak false information right now.
I agree. Yeah, we were on. I mean, you and I both saw it immediately as a bit of trickery, mind games, no certainty come playoff time.
The thing is, that Martin St. Louis, in my honest opinion, this is why I'm not saying that they are in. I'm saying they're expected to be in by people in the know. Like I did some research. I was told that there's a good chance that Arbor plays tonight, but I was not told anything about Kapanen. And obviously, if Patrick Laine can't go, then he's the one that makes the most sense. Please don't say Michael Pezzetta. Please.
Yeah.
So when it comes to a guy like Kapanen, that's good experience for him. He's going to be a guy that's part of the future. He can play a two-way game, and he's a guy that could really do well for them in the face-off circle if they need a guy. And Lord knows they need guys that can win face-offs. So I think that this is perfect for him to kind of come into. On the flip side, and the thing that really gets me is Martin St. Louis is not giving anything away right now. So
zero.
It would be if they're waiting on injuries to make calls, it would seem inconsistent.
Yeah.
For them to already know who's going to be in and who's not.
And
so this is what I say.
I don't know about
that. I'm going to say this.
Let's go with that for a second. Let's speculate on if Struble's the odd man out. Like, I'm not in favor of Struble coming out.
Neither am I. But we talked about.
I like his physicality, Marco.
I think that the Canadiens have a balance problem. If Mike Matheson was a righty, no problem. Shift him to the right, move Struble up, Jack-Eye with Savard, we're done. Or Jack-Eye with Struble, we're done. And Savard comes out of the lineup and everybody's okay. The problem is they can't possibly go down to one righty. And I'll give you the reason why. If you have one right shot defenseman, the breakouts become extremely predictable. And I'll give you an exact key point to that moment. Yep. Look at the way that the Washington Capitals attacked the center ice when Mike Matheson was doing a breakout on their second goal.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, because he's a left shot, right? So he's going to pass straight line. He's either going to dump it in or he's going to pass straight line across. So you need to occupy the center of the ice. You need to occupy the right blue line, and you need to occupy the center of the blue line. If you have three people in the breakout logged in there, he has to dump it or he's going to make a turnover. So if you have five lefties and they're coming on, and you got two guys on their offside, what ends up happening on those breakouts? They either have to stop to pivot and make a pass on their strong forehand, or they're going to try and, backhand pucks out. One of the easiest things you can do in hockey when you're pressuring or forechecking is to attack a player that's looking to make a dump out on their forehand, on their backhand. It's one of the easiest things that you can do because you can poke, you can throw yourself in front, you can block off a board dump out. There's many ways that you can attack that, and it takes them an extra second to make the pull out. Whereas when you send out a pass, when it's just a forehand pass, it's just a sweeping motion. Very different. I know it's minute, but those 2 or 3 split seconds, that makes all the difference, and that's how you get caught.
How challenging is this going to be? Because, as we know, I've been paying attention to these games, and if you have, I think we're all on the same page together. The margins are very small, very thin.
Very.
We just look at Wednesday's game. Empty netter, own goal, bounces here or there. Canadians don't get any bounces, haven't got any calls. That's just how it's fallen for them in 2 games, right? Exactly. What have you seen from the Washington Capitals? Because I find them fascinating. Obviously Alexander Ovechkin's having a nice start to his playoffs. Big hits, big goals, big assists, making it all happen. PLD looks comfortable, looks good as an agitator in front of Sam Montembeault. Ryan Leonard making a name for himself in this series. The Nick Dowd line playing well. Logan Thompson goaling the Montreal Canadiens in Game 2 on Wednesday night. When you watch Washington, do you see sustainability? Do you see a team that's caught a heater and that it's only a matter of time before the bounces and the law of averages prevail and Montreal is right back in this series?
I feel like in the playoffs, you have to make your own luck. And the Canadiens were unlucky, my opinion, in game 2.
Right.
I felt like they were lucky in game 1 to have tied that game. My honest opinion, with the way that they played and how those things kind of came in. I'm going to get to Aces Cafe in a sec with this, but I just want to finish the point.
Yep.
I feel like, again, if you're the Montreal Canadiens at the end of this game, if you want success, your heat map, the area in which the most amount of scoring chances came from, if it ain't the entirety of Logan Thompson's crease, you're not getting anywhere. And I'll give you a direct example. 65% of the Canadiens' chances, like shots on goal, came from the blue line last game. That's never going to happen unless you're tipping pucks left and right, which didn't happen. Another 35% came from outside the circles. So that, if you're doing math, means that only 10% of their scoring chances came in the high danger area. Mm-hmm. That is not sustainable. You have to go to the dirty areas. And ironically enough, the only ones that have done it so far are the veteran line. And they're leading by example. They're crashing and banging and pushing their way. And they've consistently done that throughout the series. They're pushing their way into the high danger areas. That's how you're going to do it. That is the difference between regular season hockey and playoff hockey. When everything gets tight, you got to bulldoze your way through. Or you got to make plays that open up the ice. There's two ways to do that. One of them is with your elbow or shoulder legally. And the other way is by outsmarting your opponent. And there's one specific play where I feel like Canadiens outsmarted their opponent, and that was Nick Suzuki's tying goal in game 1, where the top line, Alex Carrier and Lane Hudson, just absolutely dizzied their defense from their puck movement. And I think that is what they're going to need to do.
That's Marco D'Amico. You can follow him at D'Amico on all your favorite socials. Don't forget, we are live tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. as we get set to recap tonight's game. We're going to get some roster news as the Montreal Canadiens skated at 10:30 this morning. Patrick Laine, maintenance day, not there. It does not mean that Laine is a no-go for tonight, but some media outlets, some media personality out there saying and telling that Laine will be out. Struble expected to be out. Jackeye and Oliver Kapanen are being reported as the ones that slot in tonight.
Spouse, Jean-Charles Lajoie confirming on social media right now that Struble is expected to be out tonight. So again, I have no reason to doubt the information that Jean-Charles will get, because he is plugged in and obviously works for the rights broadcaster for the Montreal Canadiens for TVA Sport. So information will be given. The only thing I will say is I have no doubt that he heard this information. No doubt. Zero. I just wouldn't be surprised if the Canadiens are playing games. I wouldn't be surprised. It could very much happen. It could very much happen.
He's been wrong.
No, it's not even. It is absolutely zero to do with his credibility. I think he's absolutely fantastic in the information that he puts out. I will just say that I've been there, and I will say it. Like, I have been swindled on purpose.
So have I.
Sources within the Montreal Canadiens told me that they were leaning to draft Shane Wright in 2022, specifically to send me off the trail of them really liking Juraj Slafkovsky. So it's happened, right? So this is all I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me that the Canadiens are playing games and leaking false information. That being said, I would very much like to see, and we said it on the last 3 shows, with the last change, I would like to see Arber Xhekaj in this lineup with the last change.
Listen, Tom Wilson can handle Josh Anderson. He's not dealing. He's doing nothing with Arber Xhekaj. I am convinced of that.
I would like this, not because I want to see blood and I want to see guys fight, but it's because if you take Tom Wilson out, like, we'll see what happens with Alexei Protas. If he plays, then there's a different ball game. But if he doesn't play and you're able to take out Wilson for 5+ minutes, and you have the last change, you can start playing. You could start playing with your lines. You can start picking and choosing your matchups a little easier. And I honestly believe that it gives the Canadiens a little bit of an advantage, not because I think that Arbor Xhekaj is a terrible player, not by any stretch of the imagination, but a top 6 winger versus a third pair defenseman when you're already playing that third pair like 10 minutes a game. I think that's an easy win, right? Like you're you know, it is what it is. You're
all day,
losing a 30 goal scorer for an enforcer third pair defenseman. I feel like nice trade-off. So I wouldn't mind that because it would send a message. But again, and as I said this, at the last, it would have been too risky in games 1 and 2, just because it puts them in a situation, especially like if you look at with Josh Anderson, his 4 minutes with Tom Wilson. If it wasn't for Tom Wilson being a fairy in that specific moment and embellishing, then
holy shit.
That's what they called him in Washington.
Yeah.
I had a couple of my friends in Washington be like, that was like a fairy dive. You saw saw the sparkles as he flew on the ice there.
Yay.
But when you watch the way he plays, when you watch the way that he embellishes, and they have embellished a lot, the Washington Capitals have.
Oh yeah.
It seems like it will send a message. It will force them to have to respond physically if there's somebody else that does it. But if you do that on the road and you lose key elements, like Josh Anderson is a key element on the penalty kill that they lost, which was unfortunate, but they thankfully killed that penalty. Not something you want to try many, many times. So if you lose a guy like Arbor Xhekaj who doesn't play on the penalty kill, less difficult.
100%. Now, let me take a second here. We're 41 minutes into the live stream. Marco D'Amico, I'm Shaun Starr. We're back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Excuse me. Tomorrow's Saturday morning.
Tomorrow, Saturday morning.
Yeah,
what year?
Yeah, exactly. The year of our Lord 2025. Where's Jesus as our Lord in the chat? I haven't seen Jesus in the chat. He's very busy. It's Friday. It's Jesus is very busy today. I'm sure he'll be here later. But we do have
his first week back from death. He's just chilling.
Yeah. BRB. Now, hold on a second. We're 42 minutes into this. Let's put a little shine, please. As you see here, Jay Fed, comfortable. He wants to put a few dollars on the Canadiens tonight. Maybe a Caulfield goal. By the way, Caulfield on Wednesday, that was the first time in 6 games going back to last year that he did not get a point. He had 6 points in 6 games against the Capitals. So look for I like this one. And why not support the show by supporting our sponsors? You're going to have some fun with this game. And the operative word there is fun. Look at these odds. The Montreal Canadiens -101 on home ice tonight. Marco, how are you feeling these Capitals road favorites, slight road favorites? You comfortable with the Canadiens a little bit today? Odds makers giving the Canadiens a little bit of life here, Marco.
Yeah. Could you open? I didn't see them as favorites.
Who?
The Capitals.
Yeah. Look right here. Right here.
Game period. I'm looking at the puck line. My apologies.
Oh, sorry.
They're slight favorites.
Yes.
This is why, even in my career, I've looked at
odds. Are favored in the first period, by the way, -112.
Exactly. I'm fully expecting them to come out and juice. But one of the reasons why I like looking at odds like this is because it gives you an idea of what the money line looks like, what smart money looks like, what the expectation looks like. And then we're able to take those odds and kind of critique them in the sense that I disagree that the Washington Capitals are favorites in this game. However, given the fact that they've won 2 games already, it does put them in the driver's seat and they do have the better team. That being said, I fully expect that the Canadiens are going to win the first period. That is, for me, a guarantee in my mind, again. But I'm also the idiot who thought that the Ottawa Senators were going to win last night. And well, whoops. So one of the things I'm going to say here is just from an educational point of view, I think the Canadiens are going to win the first, and I think BetOnline, our sponsors, agree on this with their bookies, is that the first period, the Canadiens are going to come out firing. The Bell Center crowd is literally going to shoot them out of a cannon. Shout out Columbus Blue Jackets. So when it comes to that, I agree with. What's going to be the determining factor, in my honest opinion, and this has been the case all season long, is what happens to the Canadiens in the second period when it's the long change.
Yes, totally.
And that comes
just for the record here. Please
don't mock the Lord.
Bro, there literally is a fan that's in the live stream every time His name is Jesus is the Lord. There is no mockery here. There is no mockery here. So thank you for that. Caps have been better in the luck and calls going their other. There is a good element of puck luck that's fallen very much on the lap of the Capitals here. That's not a homer take, right? I mean,
No, I don't
yeah,
think so. I think the Capitals have what's the word? They haven't required the luck,
yes,
but I think one of the things I would say is the Canadians have been the Washington Capitals have crossed the line with more regularity, and I think that's the
yes,
key. The Canadians haven't put themselves in many situations where they would have had to take penalties. In fact, I'm quite surprised at how disciplined they actually were. And I agree with everybody. I think it's puck luck at this point. I mean, at some points,
yes,
Logan Thompson, first of all, the Jake Evans missed chance, nightmares for that guy,
yes.
absolute nightmares. But also the bounce off the ice that just glazes right to the little millimeter the skate of Logan Thompson and then goes to the left. 99.9% of the time that shot goes in because goalies can't read the bounce. So got lucky. They just need to be, I think in terms of posts, I think 3, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. And the big one, the big Jake Evans one there.
Yeah, well, the Jake Evans one, the Caulfield one in game 1, like it happens. The Canadians have had significantly bad puck luck. And I think that if you keep playing that way, and if they play the way they played in the third period, they could definitely, if they continue with how they played in the third period in this first period, it's just been good. It's just going to be good. When it comes to Montembeault, I think Montembeault has been standing on his head.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, however. Logan Thompson stole game 2.
Oh, dude, crazy.
Stole,
100%.
absolute larceny. Samuel Montembeault keeps the Canadians in the games.
Correct.
And that's all you need.
No, bro,
I don't think he's standing. I don't think he's necessarily standing on his head. He's making some great saves, but he hasn't stolen a game yet. And that's not a critique. Absolutely not. It's really hard to steal a game with that defense you're playing in front of. But I'd like to see him steal one.
What's up, Ethan? Good to see you back. Proud member of the show. You too can be a member of the show. You get early access, some show perks as well for $2.99 a month, and you can cancel at any time. Ethan suggests if you're going to have Newhook, Evans, and Demidov tonight, who's going to double shift to play the fourth line center role? The bottom line is Armia, Heineman, and Line A. If he stays in the lineup, go ahead, Marco.
I don't think you see that Jake Evans on that line unless Patrick Line A is out. My opinion. I think Oliver Kapanen would be the fourth line center, and then you'd run with that.
Yeah.
What else we got?
I like, I mean, Juraj Slafkovsky, for people, I don't think they watched the game, but it leads me down the path of Nick Suzuki and Carberry fawning over the stamina of that number one line, how they continue to have so much gas in the tank and press and press and press and press. What's your, we haven't talked too much about the captain. What's your read on 14 after 2 games in this series, Marco?
I think he's been increasingly solid.
Yeah. Yeah. I love putting this up for you, Marco.
Do I have permission to swear?
Hey?
Do I have permission to swear?
I don't want to keep mild. I got a let me answer that here quickly.
What the F is this?
Hold on. I got a message from a listener on Facebook Messenger. We have a Facebook group that I never go to, but I did the other day, and there was a message from a guy, an American, lives in, I think, Missouri. And he said, "Listen, I listen to you all the time. I love the show, and sometimes I listen in the car with my kid." And he's like, "Listen, the swear words, And I was like, you know what? I do, and I didn't take offense to it. I understood what he was saying to me. And I wrote back to him. I said, listen, I'm going to put a better effort in. And, but I say they're not nasty swear words. Like maybe we'll say an S-bomb here or there, an A-bomb or something like that. But there's no MFers. There's nothing crass, in my opinion. Yes. But I've worked on terrestrial radio for over 20 years, and I've never sworn on the air in my life, ever. So
literally swore on the air replacing you.
I've never, right, one time. And, but I've never really been comfortable doing it. So I'm good. Oh, told you. I told you. What
He's
up, Jen?
back.
He's back.
He's
Let's
back.
go, baby. Now the show can get going.
Yes.
But
I
seriously,
just
Marco, like I'm good with the tame S words here or there.
yes.
If we could just
Just
keep the F words, if we could keep the F words out of it, that would make me
there.
happy. But I wouldn't be upset if you dropped one. That's all I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
not a super uptight guy.
So no OnlyFans. Let's just leave it at that. The
Listen,
Lord hath
bro,
risen.
bro,
Yes.
it's Friday. It's Friday. You can do whatever you want. We'll put
No,
the link up on the screen.
no, let's not. I'm not. No, we're not going to do that.
Okay, so
Um,
Marco, give me some parting thoughts on tonight's game. We're running out of racetrack, as the great Ted Teven used to say. So please,
Ted
some parting
Teven.
thoughts here.
Wow. Good shout out. Really great guy.
Yes.
I think when you look at the Canadians, the effort just has to be there. They have to be as aggressive as they were in the third period all game long. They have to play the 60 minutes. I sound so generic in what I'm saying, but it's so true. They have to play a full 60 minutes. They have to use every aspect of free ice. And of course, you're going to be scared that they're going to go 3-0. Of course, it makes sense that they would go down 3-0. It makes total sense if you're studying them on paper. But the game is played on the ice, and it's the team who wants it more that will win.
Right.
Costa, I apologize, but I can't devote more than an hour a day to this.
Oh, it's 51 minutes here. I mean, we try to do an hour, and even some people want. I had one guy in the we can't please everybody. You know, one guy in the comments 2 days ago, he's like, way too long. He writes, and I'm like, can you elaborate? What do you mean? He's like, the attention span of people. Your show is way too long. I'm like, it's free. You can watch as much or as little as you like. What are you bitching to me for? It's a free
bad
show.
words. No swearing. But yeah, I think that as long as the Canadians show that they want it and they play like they want it, I have a good feeling. And I honestly, to me, with that Bell Center crowd going, if they come out flat, they have no pulse. They have no pulse.
No. The Bell Center is going to be
more is coming, Costa. I promise.
The Bell Center is going to be a difference tonight. The Bell Center is going to be part of the reason why the Montreal Canadiens win this game and get back into this series with the Washington Capitals. It's time for the law of averages to prevail. You can take a look at betonline.ag if you're looking at this game through an entertainment lens tonight. The Montreal Canadiens, slight home underdogs with an over-under set at 5.5 total goals tonight, with the over being the projected way to go. I'm comfortable looking at the Montreal Canadiens to get back into this series. I think Josh Anderson could be a difference maker. I like Cole Caulfield to score, and I think Sam Montembeault picks up where he left off from Wednesday's game.
If there was a game the Canadiens were going to win, I think it's tonight.
From your lips to where's our guy? Where is our guy? From your lips to his ears. Go Habs, go. Thank you so much for populating the chat today.
Ali, Habs, Ali.
Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. Alec Habs. What do we say? Habitant? Do we say Habs? Ale, Habs, Ale? It doesn't.
Yeah, Habs is just shortened. Well, I mean, if marketing were the issue here, I don't think it would be a problem.
Go Habs, go. Go Habs, go. Enjoy the game tonight. And don't forget to be back here tomorrow at 9:30. And we will be here to recap what we're watching tonight. And we're cheering on a Montreal Canadiens win today, okay?
Enjoy it all, Canadiens fans who deserve it. Take it all in. It's just getting started.
You got it. For Marco D'Amico, I'm Shaun Starr. We'll see you right here, bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Allez, allez, allez.